If you are a kettlebell beginner and you're looking for a great place to start, check the first link in the description. It is our free workout guide that is exclusively designed for you. Plus, it is free. Grüezi miteinander, Gregory von Lebe here. In this video, we're going to cover two versions of the snatch. The first one is the classic, and the second one is the modern variant. I'm going to demonstrate the exercise first, then we're going to talk about it, and then I'm going to show you some common mistakes. So let's check out the classic snatch first. Watch me. Characteristic in the classic version of the snatch is a sharp hinge and moving along the middle line. So what happens is I pull the kettlebell into the backswing. I use a backhand where I rotate the thumbs inwards. Then I use the power of my legs, pushing the hips forward, keeping my arm connected to my body as long as possible. And then I use the foot kick technique where I lift my opposite or my leading leg, depending on your perspective. I'm lifting my leg on my toes to keep the connection between my hip and my arm a little bit longer. Then I lean back a little, I keep my arm straight. Then a so-called hand insertion happens where I'm switching the grip. Then I fix the kettlebell in the so-called top fixation. And then I drop it by turning the palm towards me. Then the kettlebell drops. Gravity does its thing. So I let gravity do its thing. I, again, lift my leading leg, reconnect my arm with my body, turn my thumb towards me, and then this whole thing happens again. And I'm really using the power of my hips with that hinge. Now, what most people do wrong is since we are handsy creatures, we are using our arms only and almost no hips. Now, depending on the perspective, this might not even be wrong if you consciously do it to train your arms, so to speak. And this would look a little bit something like this. We can also call this a muscle snatch. Watch me. Again, I don't see nothing wrong if we do it consciously. However, mostly we are just so glued to the bell and we are moving it instead of just grabbing it. So remember this important cue. My hand is there to grab the weight, but not to move it. Now, the second thing that people do wrong is they don't know how to hinge. And you can remedy this by learning the proper hinging mechanics because this is one of the most important factors of kettlebell training that you need in so many places. So you push your hips back, your upper body leans forward, your knees are unlocking, they're not bending, but I also don't keep them fully straight. They are unlocking. I have a straight back. And this is what happens when the kettlebell drops into the backswing. Now, let's check out variant number 2, the modern snatch. Watch me first. What is characteristic of the modern version is the side-to-side movement, the lateral movement, almost like you're dancing. That's the idea. So you are continuously shifting body weight. Now, we have a different form of lever mechanics because in the classic snatch, we also have lever mechanics because when I drop the kettlebell, I lean back a little bit. And I always call this using my whole body to move the weight. But the lever mechanics with a modern snatch is a little bit different because I am not leaning back, but I'm leaning sideways. So I always shift the body weight back and forth. I shift the body weight if I'm snatching with my right hand on my opposite leg. Once the kettlebell's in the backswing, I'm switching the weight on my right leg. But once I come back up, I'm boom, using my opposite leg again. And as you can see, or as you have maybe observed, there's almost no hinging pattern going on. Instead, I am just bouncing or shifting left to right. And the major difference that you want to see between these two variations, and by the way, the same problems happen in the modern version. And I would recommend that you first understand the classic version before jumping into the modern snatch. But the major difference between the two is the muscle groups that are involved to do the work. Now, of course, if you are snatching, you are mostly using your legs. We all know this. However, if you are going into a modern snatch where you're shifting left and right, you are mostly, or you are shifting the demands on your quads. Whereas with the classic version, you are shifting the demands on your posterior chain, the backside, the glutes, and the hammies. Now, how you can use this, for example, as an athlete in your 10-minute set, you can say, okay, once I get tired and my hammies and my glutes give out, I'm switching from the classic into the modern version because then I can use some different muscle groups and maybe get a few more reps done. And as a normal person who's not engaging into athleticism with kettlebells, you can just say, okay, if I'm using the lateral version, the modern version, then I'm aiming more on my quads instead of aiming or working my posterior chain. So that's a major difference that you want to understand. And for beginners, I have a bonus tip at the end, and that is learn the half snatch with the classic version first. So how does that look like? I'm demonstrating it first. Because what happens in the half snatches, every time I rack the weight, I take my time to think about the movement patterns again, and I don't have to focus on the amortization part because this part right here is where most beginners are having problems with. And with the half snatch, I can just halve the exercise and just focus on the upward phase first before engaging in the amortization or the downward phase. Now, I love the half snatch so much that even though I understand the snatch and how it works, I regularly use it in my training routine. So these are the two different types of snatches. If you like the video, like it and consider subscribing, and I'll see you on the next one.